best that I like, train yourself to something new. Keep your head up high in yourself, believe in you, believe in me. Having been a really good time, I'm not complaining, and I'm still where I smile. If it's not, I gotta enjoy myself regardless. I appreciate emptiness begs the streets. The world is dark and in despair. It's hard to see the broken seams. The shadows watching over us, yeah. I'm alive, you're my queen. It's our city and with all these people telling us that we can't be forever walking on the edge. Can see the embers burning over you, and I can see the embers burning. We see nothing, the world turns over. I can't see red, no. We see nothing, the world turns over. I can't taste it. Feels like open water when we collide. Sadness sweeps through corners, intertwined. Yeah. We can stay up if we can be strong. We will be shining again before long. And in our hearts are full forever tonight, tonight. Before you take me underneath, I want to see into your eyes and trust the look you give to me. Yo, what's going on, guys? How's everybody doing today? Welcome.
Doing great, thanks.
Hey there.
You asked, so.
Nice. Well, pleasure to have everybody today. Today we're going to talk about understanding the potential of DePINs in crypto. And we have Reef, XYOAR.io, and Soul AI Labs joining us. And let me see here. We might be missing one person here. I think it's Influx, but I'm sure he'll be coming in. Thanks everybody for coming. And today, we're going to get right into it. And so if we can go around the horn and kind of get to know everybody behind the account, that would be awesome. So Reef, if you want to start, that'd be great.
I'd be happy to. Thanks for hosting us all here. Great to see XYO. I have one of your devices from like 3 years ago lying around my house somewhere.
I love it.
But anyway, my name is Derek Silva. I'm the operations lead at Reef Chain. I've been in the industry for over 6 years. I'm not going to do my whole origin story, but suffice to say, I've worked with a bunch of different projects and products over the last 6 years. I do consult for a few other projects as well, but the vast majority of my time is spent trying to build up Reef Chain and uh, yeah, make this an amazing ecosystem.
Nice, man. Love what Reef is doing. Thanks for that intro. And XYO, please.
Yeah, hi. Great to meet you, Reef, and everybody else. I'm Marcus Levin. I'm one of the co-founders of XYO. Started in blockchain and crypto in 2013 with a Bitcoin mining company, which didn't do too well, and then came back in 2018 with XYO, which is the original DePIN trustless oracle. And since then, we have grown a mega ecosystem in crypto and DePIN, and it's really great to hear that people are here on the call, even which have touched XYO before.
Nice. Thanks, Marcus, for that intro. Interested to learn more about XYO. And AR.io, please.
Yeah, hey everyone. My name is Phil Mataris. I am the CEO of Permanent Data Solutions and the founder of the RIO Network. And yeah, we're really focusing on building things that leverage permanent storage that uses the RWE blockchain. And my background has been mostly in infrastructure and solutions architecture, and I kind of discovered this thing that we call permanent storage in early 2018. And yeah, was hooked since, and now we're building all kinds of things on that platform. And yeah, excited to talk to you all a little bit about that today.
Nice. Well, I'm also excited to get into that. And Soul AI Labs.
Well, hey guys, well, it's great to be here. I'm David. I'm with Soul AI Labs. Well, at Soul AI, we focus on empowering influencers and creators and transform the way that they interact with the fans from the one-way two-way interaction using AI personnel and Web3 economics. Well, essentially, we're bringing the AI virtual girlfriend and the virtual boyfriend experiences from movies such as Blade Runner 2049 to life. But also with the added security and transparency and the tokenization from blockchain technology. Well, you can just think about video chat and much more interaction with Taylor Swift. Only it is the AI or Elon Musk, and also you get incentivizations of tokens for providing a CDN node with our device, or just by being active. So it's great to be here to talk and exchange ideas with all of you.
Woo! All right. I like it. I like it. So Reef, XYO, AR, Soul AI, they've been in the space for a while. They've been building, and that's why we brought them up here. So they're the experts whenever it comes to DePIN, understanding all the potential in this space. And so I'm not going to be the guy that's providing the information. All these experts are going to be. So super excited to get into it. And a little bit about us, Web3M, we created a platform called the Collab Hub. That's how we all got together today. These companies all signed up for spaces autonomously on the platform, and we're all about pushing organic growth. So that's what we're doing here today. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. And I'm Eric. And so let's get right into it. So the first question for you guys, and if you guys want to raise your hand, and to speak, that'd be awesome. The first question that I got for you guys is the ground level. We've been hearing a lot about DePINs. It's becoming more of the narrative, more and more as we grow in this space. So, what are DePINs, and what are the functionalities of them? Yes, AR, please.
Hey, yeah. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around what a DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure network, is and isn't. But I guess I kind of see it as something that utilizes permissionless, open source, decentralized, and maybe even blockchain technology to try to manage or operate, things in the real world in kind of a distributed fashion. So definitely focuses more on the utility side of what these, decentralized systems can provide. And that's where, the RIO network kind of fits in. We deal with storage, right? Storage is one of the maybe oldest kinds of DePINs in a way, right? Hard disks, they used to be really big, physical things that shipped around. So, in today's day and age, right, we try to enhance the storage aspects of DePIN networks, right, by providing an immutable data storage that we call the permaweb. And that's all of the applications and pages and data that sits on Arweave, which is kind of the base layer that we operate on top of. And this provides basically, or creates like kind of an internet that doesn't forget anything that's stored on it. And yeah, we're just excited about building that too. But yeah, so I think really see it DePIN as the blend of operating things in the real world with blockchain technology.
Got you. Yes, XYO.
Yeah, I agree there. It enables really everyone to participate in blockchain in a way where they are monetized as well, and where they have control over what they do, and they are not just a user like on the Ethereum network or something like that, but they are a contributor to a system where the system has a benefit for them contributing, and then the contributor is monetized or earns rewards in return for contributing, and it really democratizes access. It takes control from big corporations, and also allows control over one's data or computing power or one's life ultimately.
Absolutely. Derek.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to put it really is, allowing. Well, jeez. If you know what Tor is, then it's kind of like Tor, but with a financial incentive layer. And Tor is this kind of underground, more secure network, depending on your perspective. Um, of like this whole separate internet, which is literally operated by volunteers. And there's a whole separate internet over there. There's like a whole separate protocol that you use to host websites there and access them and all that. And but the entire network is run by volunteers, whereas in the internet, or the web, obviously there's all sorts of private corporations, and nonprofits as well that receive funding, like ICANN to a certain extent, who operate DNS, who operate domain registrars, who operate web hosting companies, etc. So a DPIN allows you to disintermediate a lot of that and a whole bunch of other things. I don't remember the name right now, but there's an entire DPIN around collecting weather data and making that weather data available for sale, and therefore compensating the people who are hosting the sensors and sending that data to the network. To thank them basically for collecting that data. And while that's been done for a long time by volunteers, blockchain allows you to incentivize that financially. The graph is a huge one. They just went through this sunrise phase where they have been moving everybody off of the free hosted service to the decentralized network, which is run by hundreds of people and companies around the world that are actually running the core functionality of the graph protocol in collecting blockchain data, indexing it, and making it available to developers to query. And that's one that doesn't need its own blockchain. It's operating. The financial incentive layer is now on Arbitrum, so that payments from developers to indexers, curators, and delegators is really, really inexpensive. And so, we have all these things basically that have been controlled by private corporations, cloud computing, web hosting, weather data, indexing services, etc. That, as I think the gentleman from IO said, anybody can participate now and collect that data and be compensated for it, which is where the blockchain comes in.
Woo! Marcus.
Yeah, I think what you said is great. It's so all encompassing, right? It's like be it infrastructure like your computer or data collection and data. I think it's such a fundamental thing, right? We speak so much about privacy and control, sovereignty over your data, right? And in blockchain we speak about permanence and provenance, and only DePIN oracles are able to provide that. Like the weather example you gave, or there's a company we invested in called Nadix, right, which does traffic incident data basically, and other oracles, like ours, XYO, we're an oracle, right? We collect really any data. We started with location data, and now on top of that we layer other sensory data, be it temperature sensor, for example, or even our contributors collect offline data, like POI data and so on, through our ecosystem of IoT devices and apps.
There are just so many ways that this infrastructure can be utilized, with bridging, blockchain and real world assets, and being able to provide people with a way to earn and to benefit, from the infrastructure. It's just it's an infinite, and we're just getting at the ground level. We're just starting with this, so it's really excited to hear you guys, and what's going on behind the scenes. But for the next question that I have for you guys is how do DePINs utilize blockchain technology to manage real world like assets and real world facilities? Yes, Marcus.
Yeah, so one of them is, of course, to provide the incentive mechanism, right? The token is how Bitcoin started, as it was only a way to distribute wealth, and so that's the first thing. But then it is to provide a decentralized system or semi-decentralized system. It depends on the protocol really, and allows everyone to just participate in democratic access. And blockchain then also, if you speak about data, for example, or AI applications, those kinds of things, you can make sure that you can know the origin of the data, right? And which path it took and where it ended up. And only with blockchain, you can have total immutability. And so you make the DePIN trustworthy. Otherwise, if you had thousands or millions of contributors to something, right, you might have bad apples, right? But if you have a well-programmed DePIN, the bad apples can't participate in the ecosystem because of the blockchain.
Interesting. Yeah, everybody has their aha moment. Whenever something makes sense, you see something like 10 or 11 times, and you're finally like, oh wow, this is actually going to be, this is actually something that I should dedicate energy to. And this is kind of off topic, but you kind of brought this up to me. Do you guys have any of those like aha moments and like, oh wow, this is going to be a major player in the narrative for now and the future? Do you guys have any examples of those kind of aha moments for yourself? Yes, Soul AI, please, ma'am.
Well, I had two related experiences, but the most aha moment is Helium Mobile. Well, one of my best friend, his name is Ming, right? And he owns quite a few like house. So when he find out Helium Mobile, he's super excited, and I seen how he search for the right equipment. I mean antennas, right? And then how he find the contractors to install those antennas one by one. First on his living house, on the one he living on, and then on the house that he's renting out, and then he has 7 antennas now. And the last time I checked, for every antenna, he can make about 200 per day. We're probably lower right now, but the point is, what I can imagine with this kind of like motivated like providers, what the coverage for signals will be like totally different than the traditional way. You don't have to install the for example, T-Mobile don't have to install a antenna or a transmitting tower in some nowhere, like there's only maybe 1 or 3 households there. But if there is a people like my friend, they install antenna there on their house, and people who walk around, drive around can actually get signals. You know what I'm talking about? That's the really aha moment. It really makes a big difference. I mean, like as regard to the coverage, and at much lower cost than the traditional way. Well, and also Hive Mapper is like a traffic data collection, and also a straight image collection, like agent, the DePIN platform. I use it by myself. I should talk about that later, but yeah, that's also quite amazing. That's yeah. So what I leave it to Oliver. Yeah, of the yes.
Oh, that's an amazing example, man. I love that, absolutely. Marcus, please.
Yeah, I wanted to also reiterate, this is the best example right now, I think, is Helium Mobile, right? It's they tried since 2019, they tried to build a Helium network. They had some success, in the beginning, and then it faltered a little bit because product market fit wasn't quite there. And now there's product market fit, and the incentives are right, and the product is cheaper and better, and now they just blow up, and it's amazing. I think it's going to lift the whole DePIN space. It's going to lift it up, and you need to have the right incentives and the right product. And unfortunately, a lot of projects in the crypto space, they don't have that, right? Either they make it super difficult for you to participate, right? It's difficult to set up a node and stuff like that. And I think DePIN tries to change that. And like in our case, for example, we started with IoT, similar to Helium, but it was difficult for people to participate. And today you can just download our mobile apps and use your phone as an IoT device. And now suddenly 80% of the people who come into our ecosystem are non-crypto users, and we turn them into crypto users. So 95% of them redeem for XYO. And we have more than 7 million nodes in our ecosystem now, and it was just, we had this moment, we did the same thing. We looked into everything, and so, wow, it's really difficult for everyone to participate. But if you want really democratic access where our grandmas can participate, right, we need to make it super, 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 super easy. And that's what we did. And that's why we created this app called Coin. And you can download it on coinapp.co and earn some XYO if you want. But then also, on another note, I think there's other amazing projects like Render and all the compute and storage projects. I think they compete now. Now there's so many of them, and now they make it easier and easier for the people who contribute to their networks to participate. And I think the competition, which we will see in DePIN, will also help to make it more accessible and more useful and create better products.
Wow, accessibility, usefulness, just the list goes on. Derek.
Yeah, I agree. I want to come back to the original question about utilizing blockchain tech to manage real world facilities. I mean, I think we all need to kind of keep in mind here, especially the listeners, is like just about every layer 1 blockchain, layer 2 blockchain, etc., that underpins all of this. Those are effectively DePINs. Now you can argue about concentration and things like that with Bitcoin or even with Ethereum and stuff like that, and that's fine. I don't want to get into that debate, but at its core, especially layer 1s, those are effectively DePINs, at least the highly decentralized ones. There is physical infrastructure underlying all of that, whether it's a miner, whether it's a server node somewhere, whether it's at somebody's house or at a data center or whatever. Arweave, is a DePIN. XYO's network, the underlying blockchain there. Same with Reef Chain. We don't have an incredibly diverse number, or like a really big number of validators, but they are not all in one location. They're not all one person. It might not be incredibly decentralized today, but it is effectively a DePIN. In terms of managing, real world facilities, I would come back to the weather data option again, or the graph again, or something like that. Oh shoot, I remember there being oh man, there's been a whole bunch of like cloud computing blockchain startups. Akash is a big one now, where sorry, I forgot his name, but the gentleman from XYO said like it's incredibly easy just to plug in and get started, and it's certainly much easier today in most cases than it was a few years ago, where you get a server, you install some software, you maybe need to configure an API key or something like that. Boom, you're done. There are situations where maybe you need to stake a certain number of of tokens. I was just about to say the graph is one of them. To be an indexer, you have to stake at least 100,000 GRT. Sometimes it's less expensive. Sometimes it's more expensive to get started. Pocket Network is a great one where anybody can participate in their network to offer RPC service, or data querying services as well. Pre-search is another good one, where they run, again, it's not as decentralized as some people would probably like, but that is a decentralized search network, or search engine, in the sense that I go to presearch.com, I type in Web3M, and that query gets sent to a random but high performing node on the network to actually process my query and return the results. There's still some centralized gateways in there and things like that facilitating that, but the actual core functionality is decentralized. And that's, like I said, there's physical infrastructure there, whether it's a physical computer, a virtual private server, a cloud virtual machine, whatever. That's facilitating that search. It's not going to Google and then Google handles the query and looks through their own index, etc., and serves it back to you. Pre-search is disintermediating that and letting people and corporations run a good portion of the infrastructre today, and they're using blockchain technology to facilitate the incentivization. People get earn pre tokens to use the search engine. You don't get a ton, and then the people serving up the infrastructure earn pre for participating, and you're basically taking a ton of costs off of this centralized entity's back, which obviously cuts down costs dramatically and makes it a lot easier in some ways to get started in general. So I think that's one primary advantage, kind of anticipating the next question here about using or setting up a DePIN. You still have tons and tons of dev time involved, and you still need to make the user experience awesome and fairly easy, but you can avoid tens of thousands of dollars a month in physical.
Absolutely, yeah, and you outlined it perfectly, for the segue into the next question with the pricing, because not only can people, consumers that in the traditional infrastructure being able to get into an ecosystem for XYZ amount, they may not have had the opportunity to before, there's a lot of different infrastructure that you can participate in DeFi whenever it comes to financial products, where in the traditional finance on Wall Street, you have to have a certain amount of money to be able to, get through, to access those resources. And so for me, the way that you kind of outlined, you guys have been outlining this, is that DePINs offer a way for consumers to get into these companies and be a part of these massive economies at the beginning, especially people now, right, that are early right now. But with this kind of ecosystem structure, companies can offer a much better service for a much cheaper price. And it's just kind of like it kind of all fits together into the perfect equation to develop something that everybody can be a part of, and you can scale much easier. So the next question is, how do DePINs ensure fair pricing for services?
Yeah, I'd say maybe one key way would be the fact that DePIN pricing algorithms could be well, exactly that, an algorithm, a protocol, something that in and of itself might be uncorruptible or can't be tampered with or changed by a single party. And I think could be a key differentiator between a typical centralized type service where the prices could change, based on specific whim of one team or party, whatever. And that's where things like RIO network and Arweave try to also depend on protocols to determine the fair price of a given thing, whether it's storage or a domain name, right? Because it's really important for us to, again, not have some centralized control over the network, and centralized control over the price, or the how the network prices things. It's very much part of that, and something that we didn't want to tamper with, and I think it's an important piece for all DePIN networks.
That is very important, Marcus.
Yeah, I think for DePINs to succeed, they need to be able to be competitive with regular peers, and so it's I think a market-driven pricing. If it be it for storage of data or anything else really DePIN offers. And you see the success of Helium Mobile right now is they are very competitive on price, and that again means that they also need to be competitive in how much they pay out to the contributors of the DePIN network, right? So if that's too expensive and it costs too much, then it's not going to be competitive on the product side. And so you have to find an equilibrium between the demand and supply side, and that's ultimately market driven. And I think DePINs need to allow for this market pricing to take place.
Definitely. Valerius. Soul AI.
Well, yeah, David here. Well, actually, I'm thinking, bottom down, it's a validated tokenomics is the key, as to a fair pricing. We all know, sometimes a token is pumped, right, and everybody just flood in, but that won't last. Ultimately, there's a need for a great design of tokenomics where demand and consumptions of tokens are valid, are existing. So, for example, like Hive Mapper, a traffic data and straight image collector and DePIN provider. Well, they do reward you with tokens whenever the image that you collected is used by another, maybe an AI company that they use data to train the AI model. Then you get some rewards, right? So that's an example of a token consumption. And also, take Hive Mapper as example too. The fair pricing can be achieved through a self-adjusting incentive mechanism. For example, if the pool, the amount of tokens inside the pool is fixed, and also it's the same for a specific area, right? For example, when there are way too many drivers like me, then everybody gets lower tokens. And then in this situation, some of us will just quit, and then we get a lower amount of people. Then everybody gets a bit more tokens. So that's a dynamic way to adjust this the amount of token everybody get. So that's my 2 cents.
Nice. Yeah. Autonomously basically controlling everything through the blockchain and DePIN. That's awesome. Derek.
Yeah, so there's definitely a bunch of different ways to do this. With the cloud computing side of things, with Akash specifically, I know that they have kind of like a bidding system. So basically, work gets posted up. Like I want to set up this new server. Um, Somebody has a price they're willing to pay, and then there are a bunch of providers who are willing to provide that service or something similar around that price, or maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower. And so, at least last time I dived into it, there's kind of like a matchmaking system there. And ultimately, if you as the pardon me, if you as the user are not willing to pay enough, there are no providers there who are gonna pick up your work. Um, Over at the Graph, like I said, I've been consulting for a few other projects for a while, and that's one of them. Um, I've seen them undergo internally. I haven't been part of that work, but I've seen a lot of the discussions. Um, Kind of like just work to make the indexing process more efficient, make the query response process more efficient. Collect a ton of data from indexers about how much it costs them to index a certain amount of data, to respond to certain queries, how depending on how complex those queries are and things like that. And that's been a real learning curve from them, and not in a negative way by any means, just like, how do we price this competitively? And I know that they look at centralized competitors all the time to see, like, what are they doing, how much what are they pricing their data services at, their querying services and indexing services, to make sure that they are competitive. And and sometimes that comes down to, okay, we need to make the software a lot more efficient so that indexers can run less powerful hardware, or working with developers to make sure that their subgraphs, the data that they want to query, that's appropriate as well, and making sure that they're only selecting the data they need for their subgraph, as opposed to, well, I just want to index the whole Ethereum blockchain. Well, that's not necessary. Realistically, you can pull that data in a different way, because that would be a massive subgraph worth terabytes of data at this point. And unless you're willing to pay a lot to query that particular subgraph all the time for an entire blockchain, nobody's going to pick that up. So I would say the processes are probably a lot more similar to Web 2, centralized companies in some ways. And then in other ways, like I said, because it's a really, really open marketplace, you could have somebody who's running an incredibly efficient infrastructure undercut, almost everybody else, and do it way more competitively, which is something we see, in the corporate world, in the Web 2 world, all the time. And ultimately, that it should foster competitiveness, and people voting with their feet or voting with their wallets, and leading to more efficient services and better services for people in the long run. Is there a situation where that could be um, kind of like a loss leader for a little while, and all of a sudden prices get jacked? Yep, absolutely. But there's a whole bunch of ways as well in decentralized systems to help eliminate what you might call a bad actor in various ways. So yeah, it just it kind of depends on what you're doing, and what the protocol does and how much infrastructure is required. But I've seen it work a whole bunch of different ways, algorithmically, pen and paper, figuring out the math, etc. It just kind of depends on what's happening, and what the ultimate goal is, I guess.
It's just the perfect fit. Contributors are incentivized to act and do the right things, and then they are provided value based off of what they do. I mean, it's just like it's the perfect ecosystem to make sure that contributors and the product are all taken care of all together. And I don't remember which one of you had mentioned this with decentralizing the control, because the institutions are not the ones in control anymore. The community is in control. So my next question would be, how does decentralization in DePINs distribute control among all various providers? Yes. Go ahead, AR.
Yeah, maybe, I think one of the most important pieces of that is really around the software that's run by the different DePIN networks, and the core piece of that, I think, is just simply making it open source. How do you distribute control over the network? Well, it's of course got to be easy to run, all the things we've been talking about, but the software itself should be open, easily extendable by the core team and beyond, right? I think that's really important for the transparency, for the growth and extensibility of any kind of network, whether DePIN or otherwise. So yeah, open source software certainly makes a lot of these things possible.
Definitely. David from Seoul.
Well, yes. By decentralization, it also reduces the risk of a single point of failure. Like if one provider fails, the others can quickly step in and fill the gap. That's a part. And also, I'm thinking about smart contracts. Smart contract can, like with open source protocols, right, providing transparency. And on the other hand, smart contract also automates like various functions such as service agreement and payment. This can reduce the reliance on central intermediaries and also make management faster and more reliable than the traditional way.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're, I love this space because whenever it comes to having all this on the blockchain, there's no way to fake what's going on or to skew the revenue stream and all this. It's all transparent. It's all on the blockchain and it's all autonomous, just like you said, David, with the smart contracts. And it's just going to optimize itself. And this space is extremely new. And all these applications that we're talking about are some of the first applications in Web3 with DePINs. And that's very interesting. So that's something to take into account whenever you're looking at all this is take this serious. And if anybody has any questions, don't forget to post it in the comments. We'll be picking the winner here at the end of the space here shortly. So post your comments. We're going to be picking 2 winners to split the prize. And so my next question for you guys is, how do DePINs incentivize providers to contribute to their physical infrastructure? Because there's so many ways to incentivize contributors to the ecosystem. Yes, XYO.
As you said, there's several ways. I think the biggest incentive for a lot of them is just community and to belong to something which is meaningful. It's Helium Mobile, for example, democratizes access to mobile networks and others, computing power and or data collection or you name it, right? So it's this community and to belong to something that's really strong, and I think it incentivizes people. And then, of course, there's tokens, right, where someone might earn a token for contributing a piece of data, right, as it's useful to someone else, and so it's a fair contribution system.
Please, Derek.
Yeah. So one way this sort of thing gets pitched is taking advantage of currently unused resources or underutilized resources. These DePINs appeal to a certain type of person or certain type of organization who maybe is really zealous about open source or really zealous about decentralization. And obviously, if you can then offer a product that's or service that's aligned with those values, and you do so in an earnest way, then that's potentially a new market for you that you weren't tapping into before. Otherwise, there are literally entirely new services that get offered. I mentioned Akash, I mentioned the Graph, Holo. I'm trying to remember the name of the weather one, but I don't remember now. It might be on Hollow. But anyway, these sorts of things allow existing infrastructure potentially, or using existing infrastructure in a new way to basically better utilize those resources. And so if you have entire server racks that are being unused right now because maybe you're trying to offer a commoditized service, and you need to plan for peak capacity, but you can use some of those resources for low bandwidth or low compute needs. That's a great way to put that infrastructure to work, and diversify your income stream, not only through the type of service, but by receiving a token instead. Hopefully you have good lawyers who know how to handle that, and decent accountants as well, or bookkeepers at least, but and can overcome some of those, ooh, this is new kind of hesitation. But if you're brave enough to do that, then and there are some really big organizations around the world, Equinix among them, who have come into this DePIN industry, and are they're earning tokens. They're not earning USD. It can really pay off. So it requires a little bit of bravery, a little bit of courage, and potentially some creative thinking. But like I said, it's a way to diversify your income stream, earn a different type of currency, and potentially reach customers that you couldn't reach before, just because of the nature of your business.
Sure. Soul AI.
Well, yeah, just to echo with Reef, weather XM and Nubila, they collect the weather data, they as a DePIN provider. So, well, but also as to how DePINs incentivize providers, right? Well, except just tokenization provide a income stream, it also provides a huge room for imagination. So as to the early participators, they can really expect the token price go up, when the service just scale up, or just when the token get into a major exchange. So it's not only a income stream, it's also a kind of investment. For this will attract a lot of people who like adventures, and also gamblers, I would say. So besides tokenization, well, the sense of ownership is also a way to incentivize provider. Just also take Helium Mobile as example. Suddenly, you become a service provider. You have equipment, you have a team, and you can serve people. So that's definitely a different feeling, and also. Plus, you get free internet, So, and I mean, free cell phone service. So, that's also a plus, right? So, rather than just paying your own, like a cell phone bill every month, you can now just install your antenna and get a free cell phone service for forever. If the company lasts, right? So, that's also a way to incentivize providers. And besides all of those, like more material part, there is also a spiritual part. Say, I can think there will be a honor system, or that can reward you for taking up this social responsibility, to make up the void where there's no signals, or to submit a traffic data where others can use to forcing the situation and then take precautions. So that's also a big part for incentivization providers. So yeah, that's it.
Nice. Yeah. Having this decentralized ecosystem, being able to participate in a ecosystem that is based in South America and you live in the U.S., all being monitored and all being shared, on the blockchain, is a really awesome thing. Not only, is that a great way to monetize, and to bring value for yourself, but also, this narrative is contributing to us, growing together, as a community. Everybody growing closer and creating this infrastructure. So I think that's a really cool aspect to this technology. That people like to make money and all that, but I think growing closer as a community, that is bringing us together is a massive thing. And so, as my last question, before we get into the questions within the audience, you guys still have a little bit of time to post your questions, and I'll get to them. We're going to pick two. My last question for you guys is: what are the major challenges with DePINs? All these benefits that come with this technology. What are the challenges, and how do we get past these challenges? Yes, Soul AI.
Well, fundamentally, I think the tokenomics design, there must be a demand and consumption of the tokens in the system. Otherwise, inflammation would be easily achieved, also like the mine and the sell, So the price of token will go down. Whoever hold the price will just lose value, and then it become a death spiral, or suddenly then it's a Ponzi, So that for our project, like we do have the consumption and the demand for tokens. Users can use the tokens to tip the creators and also make payments, and there will be a transaction tax which will be burned. So the total amount of tokens will gradually decrease, and thus deflations. But back to the tokenomics design, it must be validated and it must be transparent and make sense to everybody. And thus, the trust can be achieved, and then the project can scale really, really, and last. Yeah, the key point is tokenomics and trust, build trust.
Sure. XYO.
Yeah, I think biggest is accessibility. How easy do you make for people to participate in a DePIN system? It's if it's really hard, it's not very democratic, right? If it's only Bitcoin nerds like you and me being able to participate, then I think the system does not succeed because the addressable market is just too small. And if you want to have broad adoption of DePINs, we need to make them very accessible. I think that's one. And two, of course, we are a project in the US, so the regulatory framework is quite important, right? And unfortunately, in the US at least, there isn't regulatory clarity yet, and how do you handle that with DePINs? Like we've mentioned, you need good lawyers, and it's certainly true, and unfortunately, very expensive. Yeah, I wish we would get a little bit more of that because we want to enable, and I think politicians want to enable this innovation to succeed, to provide competitive technologies and competitive systems into our economies.
Sure. The U.S. better get their shit together because they're going to be left behind with all the awesome places like Dubai offering such a great way to move. AR, please.
Yeah, we sure are. I know there was just the FIT 21 or something bill that got signed on one side of the government, but I don't know if the other one will approve it or whatever. But yeah, certainly a few challenges relating to the success overall of DePINs that you guys have mentioned. And yeah, I think one of the biggest ones is just ensuring that there are products or maybe the demand side, right, has to exist, right? We can't just be building infrastructure networks that don't get used. There has to be products or apps or something on the other end that really gets the value that the network is bringing. And I think the crypto market in general is kind of always in this cycle of trying to find out the things that work. And this was we actually started with a consumer product before we got into a DePIN network. We were working on, and still are working on an app called Our Drive, which is like a Web3 Dropbox app, but your data is stored forever on Arweave, because I really wanted to make a product that people could understand. It's hard to maybe sometimes describe these DePINs and these networks that we're building, but yeah, we saw opportunity on the infrastructure side, so that's why we are also doing the RIO network, but yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us will really be successful as a decentralized network if there aren't products and users and that demand side.
Definitely, and this specific tech that is being built, it could be a massive bridge to supplying a demand into the Web3 ecosystem, bringing a lot of Web2 users in. So a lot of people understand being a part of a company that's building a real world asset or providing a service that people can actually use, whether it be the weather service, or whether it be like another Uber kind of thing, and then they can be a part of that in a tokenized fashion. And I'm not sure exactly the conference that I was listening to, but they had mentioned that 91% of major investors believe in asset tokenization, and so we know that is exactly where this is going. And we have a lot of great questions, and I'm just going to pick a few. And if you guys on the panel, if you guys want to pick one, and I'll pick one, it doesn't really matter to me. But the first one that popped out to me, and I'm not sure if you're still here, Bullish Pizza, you had asked, and I'm going to go ahead and ask the panel, and this is an interesting, what do you think the long-term impact of DePINs will be on the global economy? Great question, Bullish Pizza. Yeah, XYO, please.
Yeah, I think it's going to be momentous. It's as more and more DePINs exist, it creates more and more competitiveness for centralized organizations. Like Google and Amazon, let's say, for example, on cloud storage type stuff. And I think DePINs can be cheaper because the users might give up their extra capacity for a low price, right? Because it's market driven, and so I think it can really flip a bit and allow DePIN networks to succeed where others, centralized companies, won't succeed. And I think it's going to be huge. And then also it takes out the middleman and other rent seekers, right? Because it's a peer-to-peer network, and so it allows for anyone who participates to have income, and makes things more competitive. In the end, is much better for consumers, right? Because we all want lower prices all the time, basically, and better services.
Nice. Derek, Reef.
I think what it could lead to is maybe a more successful version of ghost kitchens, but when it comes to providing services. Some ghost kitchens are doing fine, and some other ones not so much. But I think it'd be really interesting to see, companies pop up who don't really have, maybe they have a website or something to establish some credibility, but they don't offer services directly. And we've actually kind of seen this with some companies, some centralized orgs in Web3 already. Figment is a big one. I don't recall right now whether they offer services directly or not, at least in terms of like access to, whatever DePIN. But a big part of their business plan is to actually, or their revenue is to actually offer infrastructure to DePINs. So like that's a big part of what they do. And I think we could see more of that. So it's not, you don't go to like a GoDaddy and GoDaddy's offering blockchain indexing and data querying services, but they are participating in those types of things, or they're a participant in XYO or an Arweave, but you don't go to GoDaddy and say, I want Arweave services. You go through Arweave or some other front end that's already been built on it, and you just kind of end up using GoDaddy's infrastructure potentially. I think that would be really interesting, and I think that's a high potential for that sort of thing to happen. Um, Otherwise, I think we'll end up in a position like we always do in pretty much every industry, where there's suddenly a ton of choice, whether it's networks, whether it's front ends to those networks, and then of course there'll be some consolidation and some failures, and we'll end up in a fairly good equilibrium where people who have the expertise and the infrastructure and the will to participate in a DPIN in some way, they will more and more and more. And it'll become easier to participate. It'll become easier to understand why you should participate. The incentives will be clearer and clearer than ever before. And yeah, and I've seen some good examples of this, but I'm not going to name names because they haven't launched their mainnet yet. Just a much better user experience in general, whether you're staking tokens and running infrastructure, whether you're doing things on your mobile phone, what have you. The UX continues to improve, and I think that'll be a big catalyst, on the reaching a billion users metric.
Definitely, yeah. There's no reason why a user wouldn't want to be a part of something like that, in my opinion. And Bullish Pizza, that was an awesome question. If you want to request to come up, that's the way that we're gonna verify that you're here. So request to join, and we'll make you a speaker to give you your prize.
I'm also bullish on pizza, always.
Bullish on pizza. Let's go. Nice. I love pizza. So my next question from all of the questions in the comments, and these are all awesome questions, guys. Keep them coming. Some of the things that I didn't think of that I wish I would have, and we're running out of time, so that's why I'm hurrying up. So my next question, if you guys don't have one to pick out, I'll pick out another one happily and easily. So how do DPINs have the potential to disrupt traditional industries such as telecommunications, energy, and transportation? Carrie, that was an awesome question. Request to speak so we can give you your prize up here whenever we're done answering. So I know Derek had mentioned a few times about the weather industry and how all that kind of pins in there. Oh
yeah, I'll expand on that a little bit. I don't remember the blockchain right now off the top of my head, but I think I remember last year somebody inking a deal with either Sprint or T-Mobile to actually start offering Wi-Fi access through people who opted in to like basically resell their internet service through the ISPs. Um, uh, Modem slash Wi-Fi access point, and therefore you could kind of drive around Miami or think something like that. I think I'm pretty sure it was supposed to start in Florida, drive around Miami. And if you had the right app and, you were part of this in ecosystem, you could actually access, Wi-Fi across a good swath of Florida. That sort of thing is super, super cool. And it doesn't work in every jurisdiction because of regulations. But again, that's something where the blockchain can facilitate who's connected, who has access, who's staking tokens, and therefore can participate as a provider if that's part of the criteria, and obviously pay for the service. And the blockchain is incentivizing that, and handling the payment side of things in a really efficient way, in a permissionless way, that sort of thing. So telecommunications at large, it's being done in highly underserved areas. I don't know if it's really going to come to highly industrialized areas. Canada, the U.S., the U.K., Western Europe. Let's be real. Like the most of those markets work pretty well, but lots of parts of Africa, South America, Central America, where there's nothing. Um, I know that there's again, I've got all these examples. I know what's happening. I know the use case, but I don't remember the names. If you search DuckDuckGo or pre-search, don't use Google. Use pre-search or DuckDuckGo to search for decentralized internet, South America, something like that. You will find a blockchain project that is making that possible. And it's, other than the primary cell phone tower or satellite dish that gets the internet there, the rest of that network is incredibly decentralized, and where people are actually paying and receiving payments to provide that infrastructure. Those are some of the ones off the top of my head. You could probably do sports betting. You can certainly do almost anything that requires real world data. XYO. I'll pass that over to you, based on what I remember from a few years ago that you guys were doing. You could see potentially like a much better or a more frequently updated Google Street View type competitor, where people are paid to walk around with a camera on their head, a GoPro type thing that obviously does 360 photos and videos, and get data way more often than Google or Apple or Microsoft Bing are willing to pay for it. There's all sorts of things I think that require not real time. Well, potentially real time, the whole maps industry, traffic data, you could incentivize that. I love Waze. I know it gives me really good data, but I know where that data goes. And if that was if that was a decentralized network and we were all benefiting, or paying and receiving tokens in order to participate in that, I would feel much better about it. Yeah, those are some examples.
Absolutely, yeah. Waze, that's a great example, because everybody uses it. It's there to utilize, and it would be great to actually benefit while using it. And Carrie, that was an incredible question. Thanks so much for that question, and congratulations on your prize, $25 in USDT. What do you plan to do with it? Any plans?
Sorry, can you come again?
With the $25 USDT, just curious, you have any plans to do anything with that? Buy
Yeah, just
maybe a
buy
pizza
some
or
shit
something?
coins. Buy some shit coins.
Okay, sounds good. Well, just DM me after the space. Thanks so much, brother. Appreciate you. Awesome.
Buy some Reef and buy some XYO and some RWeave tokens. Come on, man.
Split it equally.
Nice. Love it. And actually, the Bullish Pizza. Darn it! Sorry, brother. You're not here to get your prize. I guess we'll just have to wait until next time. But let me just go through here, and if you guys have looked through any questions, you like a question, don't hesitate to just jump up here and say the name. But as we end this space, let me just pick one more person to choose. And TK, you keep on coming up here. You're hungry, man. I love it. I absolutely adore it. You had a question. I'll just read it off real quick. We don't have to answer it. But what things should we look for in DePINs that will contribute to the sustainability of the project? And do you guys have time to answer that question, or are we getting too close to the end here? Thumbs up. You guys have a question. AR, please.
I think it's maybe just a couple things, and I think you guys have also maybe pointed out some others recently, but good tokenomics also could mean a real long-term success. And yeah, just open source everything, all the things. That's how more builders can build on top and extend the life cycle of any given project. Yeah, so those are the top two things maybe I'd say.
Nice. Amazing. Well, if anybody else has any last minute remarks about that question, why I say thanks so much for your question, TK. That was awesome. That was one of my favorite ones. So thanks for taking the time to post it in the comments. We love users and their insights. So TK, what do you plan on doing with the $25 in USDT? Any plans? Pizza, donuts, shitcoins, anything?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna share it equally for Reef, XYO, and AR.
Awesome, my man. Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
again, thanks so much for that,
thank
and
you very much.
we look forward to seeing you on the upcoming spaces, my brother.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, and don't forget to DM me for the prize for the winners for the 2 prizes. Each person will get $25 in USDT. Don't forget to DM us Web3M, and we'll make sure to get you your prize ASAP. So,
All right, thank you very much.
okay, everybody. Absolutely. That was an absolute pleasure to have you guys on the space. Reef, XYO, AR.io, Soul AI Labs. You guys are absolutely killing it. We love what you're doing in the DePIN space. You're leading the narrative. And so with anybody in the audience right now, go ahead and send them a follow. Go to their community, ask them questions. They're awesome people behind the projects, and that's what matters, for the people that are building it. So thanks so much for coming. Until next time, we'll talk to you later. Have a great day.
Yes, thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. It was awesome to be here.
Cheers.